I would like to briefly talk about China's uh, uh, the characteristic of China's state. Well, it is undoubtedly it is capitalist. Of course, we have to further characterize whether it is in the global south or whether it is imperialist and so on. Yeah? But may I first point out one thing that is important. China is huge. China is full of contradictions. uh, China's, yeah, by some measurements, you can say China is a developing countries. Say the per capita GDP, for instance. But one cannot just rely on single measurements in these kind of things. Uh, uh, we have to look at all other aspects and measure them in totality. I don't go into details because we have no time. But one thing we must bear in mind is that China is in Asia. It is quite hegemonic, and we can witness that in South China Sea. Well, I think we have also to be concrete in our analysis. Well, say for instance, there are three battles between China and Hong Kong, between China and U.S. Firstly is the trade war, and then we have the South China Seas, and then we have the Hong Kong issue. In the trade dispute, I think the U.S. government and was totally wrong when it charges against China's so-called trade deficit, which is just a misleading narrative on the U.S. side. So, but it is another situations in the South China Sea, for instance. Yes, because not to mention that the international tribunals has a verdict. But from my perspective, I'm horrified from the very beginning that that the CCP claiming to be socialist, but its claim is basically is trying to inherit the KMT's regime in the 1940s claim over South China Sea. And what is the base of the KMT's regime's claims over South China Sea? Because the KMT's governments, since it was founded in 1928, it is or actually more earlier or for its forerunner, is always based on the imperialist idea that we must inherit. This is the KMT position. We must inherit all the territory once occupied by the Qing dynasty. But Qing dynasty, of course, is imperial China. Why would a socialist, so self-claimed socialist government and party will seek to succeed all these territorial claims from an imperialism China's in the past? This is absolutely weird. And lastly, my single is that well, but as to the issue whether China is imperialism, I think we have to approach this question from several levels. The first level is that China could be or could be not an imperialist country, but there is one thing is certain, that it is expansionism, and we can see that in China's integration into the global capitalism. First, we have a stage that there's a huge FDI inflow to China, but then from the turn of the century, since the turn of the century, China's emerged as a huge FDI outflow countries as well. The Sri Lankan port, the Chinese investments in the Hambantota port, and it is terribly colonialist. I would say.